We're starting at a literal $1 hatchling and ending at a tortoise so rare, so endangered, and so valuable on the black market that armed guards patrol its habitat around the clock. Turtles turn out to be one of the most extreme price categories in the entire exotic pet world. And by the end of this list, you'll understand exactly why. Let's get started. Turtle number 1, $1. Believe it or not, this price point is real, and it's part of turtle history. Back in the mid-1900s, tiny baby red-eared sliders, barely bigger than a coin, were sold for as little as $1 at flea markets, roadside stands, and dime stores across the US, often alongside a little plastic bowl with a plastic palm tree stuck in the middle. Look at old footage of these setups, and it's honestly a little heartbreaking. A whole life crammed into a container smaller than a cereal bowl. Here's the twist. That era ended for a genuinely serious reason. In 1975, the US banned the sale of turtles under 4 inches long, after these tiny hatchlings were linked to widespread cases of salmonella in children who handled them. So while you can still find inexpensive red-eared sliders today, usually in the $10 to $30 range, the true $1 turtle is mostly a piece of nostalgia now. And honestly, a red-eared slider raised properly, real UVB lighting, a real filtered tank, real basking space, can live 20 to 30 years and grow to nearly a foot long. That dollar store bowl was never even close to enough. If you've ever owned one of these as a kid, let me know. I'd bet a lot of you had the classic plastic palm tree setup at some point. Turtle number 2, around $75. Next, an eastern box turtle, a native North American species instantly recognizable by its high domed shell and the hinge on its underside that lets it seal itself completely shut like a tiny armored box, hence the name. Genuinely, one of the sweetest looking turtles on this entire list. And I'll admit, writing this one made me want to look up breeders near me. Eastern box turtles typically run around $50 to $100 from a reputable breeder, and they're famous for one specific trait: they're creatures of habit. A wild box turtle can spend its entire multi-decade life within an area smaller than a few football fields, returning to the exact same nesting spots year after year. Some documented individuals have lived well past 50 years old, meaning a box turtle bought today could genuinely outlive the person who bought it. They also eat a surprisingly varied diet in the wild: worms, slugs, berries, even mushrooms, basically the pickiest little omnivore in the yard. If you had to name this guy right now, what would you go with? Drop it below. Turtle number 3, around $500. Now we move to something a bit more delicate: a Russian tortoise. One of the most popular small tortoise breeds kept as pets worldwide, prized for staying compact, usually under 9 inches, while still being active, curious, and surprisingly fast for a tortoise. And I do mean fast. Watch footage of one of these guys when they spot food coming, and it's less slow and steady and more sudden burst of tiny determined speed. Prices for Russian tortoise hatchlings can actually run anywhere from $150 up to $500, depending on the breeder and region, with some collectors reporting prices climbing even higher in certain markets due to demand outpacing supply. Native to the dry, rocky regions of Central Asia, they're natural escape artists and are famous among owners for being able to dig or push their way out of enclosures that seemed perfectly secure the day before. Owners online constantly swap stories of finding their Russian tortoise somewhere it absolutely should not have been able to reach: under a couch, behind a bookshelf, once, allegedly, halfway up a set of stairs. If you've ever had a pet escape on you like this, you already know exactly the chaos I'm talking about. Turtle number 4, around $2,000. Here's where things start climbing fast. This is an Egyptian tortoise, one of the smallest tortoise species on Earth, with adults sometimes staying under 5 inches long their entire lives, smaller than some pet hamsters. Genuinely. Look at the size comparison in this clip. It looks less like a real animal and more like someone 3D printed a tiny tortoise as a joke. That small size comes with a serious cost. Egyptian tortoises are critically endangered, with wild populations devastated by habitat loss and decades of overcollection for the pet trade. Legitimate captive-bred hatchlings have been reported selling for around $2,000, and they tend to sell out extremely fast whenever a breeder has any available. Waitlists for this species are common, sometimes running months long. Their tiny size, ironically, is exactly what made them such an easy, attractive target for illegal collection in the first place, since a smuggler could hide dozens of them in a space that would only fit one larger tortoise. Turtle. Number 5. Around $5,000. Next, a Galapagos tortoise hatchling, one of the largest tortoise species alive, with adults capable of weighing over 500 pounds and living well past a century, with some individuals documented living close to 200 years. Let that sink in for a second. A hatchling purchased today could still be alive when the great-great-grandchildren of whoever's watching this video are adults themselves. A hatchling can run around $5,000, assuming you can even find a licensed breeder and legally clear the substantial permitting most regions require just to own one. Owning a full-grown adult isn't really practical for almost anyone outside of a dedicated sanctuary or zoo, and honestly, watching footage of a full-grown Galapagos tortoise slowly munching through a pile of hibiscus leaves the size of a small hay bale, it's clear these guys were never really built for a backyard. Would you actually want to take on a pet that might genuinely outlive your entire family line? Let me know your honest answer in the comments. I'm curious how many of you would actually say yes. Turtle number 6, around $20,000. Now we're deep into black market territory. This is a golden coin turtle, also called the Chinese three-striped box turtle, and it became one of the most trafficked turtles on Earth after being marketed with claimed cancer-curing properties in traditional medicine, a claim with no scientific backing that nonetheless triggered a wave of relentless wild collection. The species is now critically endangered, believed to be extirpated from much of its native range in China entirely. Wild-caught individuals have reportedly sold for as much as $20,000, a price driven almost entirely by scarcity and unfounded medicinal folklore rather than anything about the animal's actual needs as a pet. It's a genuinely grim case study in how a myth about an animal can end up nearly wiping it off the planet, a rumor with zero scientific basis, and a species that's paid the real, permanent price for it. Turtle number 7, up to $60,000 plus. And now, the top of the list. A plowshare tortoise, widely regarded as the rarest tortoise species on Earth, found nowhere on the planet except a single national park in northwestern Madagascar. Experts estimate as few as 200 to 300 individuals may remain in the wild. Just look at the color on this shell in the footage. That deep golden high dome pattern is genuinely unlike anything else on this entire list, and unfortunately that's exactly the problem. Its golden shell has made it a devastating target for collectors, particularly in parts of Asia, with mature specimens reportedly selling for up to $60,000 or more on the black market. And here's the part that turns this from a price tag into a genuine crisis. Conservationists have gotten so desperate to protect the remaining wild population that they've resorted to deliberately engraving identification marks directly into the tortoise's shells, permanently disfiguring the exact golden pattern collectors want most, specifically to make the animals worthless to poachers. Some populations are now guarded around the clock by armed patrols, razor wire, and hidden cameras, protecting an animal whose only real crime was being too beautiful for its own good. Final thoughts. So there you have it. From a dollar store hatchling in a plastic bowl to a tortoise so endangered that protecting it now requires armed guards. And the deeper you go into this list, the clearer the actual pattern gets. The price tag almost never reflects how good a pet the animal actually makes. It reflects how rare it's become, and more often than not, that rarity is a direct man-made result of the exact same demand driving the price up in the first place. The $1 turtle from the start of this video is genuinely in a far better position today than the $60,000 one, because nobody's trying to poach it into extinction. So, real talk, do you have a pet turtle or tortoise right now? What species and how old is it? And if you were going to get one of these 7 right now, budget completely aside, which one would you actually pick and what would you name it? Drop it all in the comments. I read every single one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.